It's important to get adequate exercise. Now let me caution you, if you're extremely deconditioned or if you have any medical problems like diabetes or heart disease, be sure and get medical clearance before beginning vigorous exercise. Now another thing I'd recommend, if you find that exercise exhausts you to the point that you don't even recover from your sessions, you need a thorough evaluation from a natural medicine physician. Now, exercise alone will improve your mood, your resting metabolism, it reduces your cancer risk, it will improve your quality of life, and it's even been shown to lengthen your life. Now, I recommend that you only do light exercise while you're on the 10-day detox schedule. Okay, so the human body is designed for optimal function for things that humans need to do. So we're designed really to work in intense bursts of high output. Now in our ancestors, this would include things like chasing down a rabbit, or lifting a rock, or escaping from an animal that's chasing you to try to have you for lunch. Or let's say you're climbing a tree to get fruit, or climbing up a cliff to get out of a gully. Now this is optimal if we're lean. You know, a lean, mean fighting machine. Now humans also need the capacity for endurance. Examples of endurance are cultivating a field, fetching water, foraging for like nuts and berries, or migrating to better hunting grounds or to a more sustainable environment. Now humans have the capacity for long distance running. This allowed many primitive humans to actually chase down sprint-equipped animals like antelope. So we're designed to move fast, but we're also designed to survive a famine. So we'll tend to be lean if we're well fed, if we have a natural diet, and if we move fast on a regular basis, and we do that with interval training. Being overweight will slow us down. And so we naturally don't want to be overweight to accomplish being fast. Now we'll also be thin if we're well nourished, and we need to cover a lot of ground by foot. So if we're doing a lot of endurance activities, we'll tend to be thin because you can't travel as far if you're overweight, and it will harm your joints. We also tend to gain fat and slower metabolism if we have food restriction. That's the famine. Or if we have nutritional deficiencies. If we have inactivity, too much stress, too many toxins, or if we have a lack of sleep. Now, there's a multitude of benefits to interval training. The biggest one with interval training is time. A workout can be completed in as little as 20 minutes. Now, intense workouts also accomplish a degree of resistance training for your muscles. So, intervals can partially take the place of resistance training. Now, intervals can also be part of sports and recreation or productive work if we need to multitask or if we want to multitask. An example would be, or an example of an interval workout, let's say, one that I have done a lot on a regular basis is I go to the local high school track, I walk for a lap to warm up adequately, then I run a lap running fast and finishing like it's a race, so I'm out of breath. Then I walk another lap to completely recover my breathing. Then once I'm recovered, I'll do another sprint. And I'll actually make the sprint slightly shorter the next time, but still finishing going 100% and getting out of breath. Now by the 8th interval, you can make it really short, 100 yards, even 50 yards. And you've completed your workout, usually in less than 20 minutes. Now, variations of this same workout can be accomplished riding a mountain bike. Around my house here, there are many short hills, so I can use each hill as the interval and the downhill side as the recovery. You could do the same thing with stadium steps, hiking on rolling hills, or many types of sports like basketball, racquetball, tennis. Physical work can be done this way: digging, raking, scrubbing, can all be done in an interval fashion where you work really hard at an unsustainable level and then you recover. Now, all of these workouts should conclude with a cool down. So you need to take 5 minutes to cool down. Now, endurance exercise also offers several benefits. A recent study of joggers showed that it added 6 years to a jogger's life compared to a non-jogger. That's amazing. Now, endurance exercise burns primarily fat, and by doing it, it keeps the fat-burning enzymes functioning and ready to be used. Now, endurance activities can also be used for work. It's very effective for travel, and it can also be used for recreation. So we can use interval work as multitasking. Now, this kind of training gives us the stamina to be able to do physical work for long hours if it's needed, like in a crisis. Also, I recommend that you have an endurance foundation in place before attempting the interval training. I think that's very important. You should also get a medical clearance before interval training. Now, resistance exercise is important to maintain muscle mass, which is needed for our strength, and it's also needed for our metabolism. This exercise is critical to combat the natural loss of muscle as we age. Inactive men lose 0.5% of their muscle mass every year from the ages of 25 to 60. And then after 60, that doubles to losing 1% of their muscle mass every year. And believe me, it adds up. At age 70, it doubles again to 2% a year. And these numbers are very similar for women. This gradual, insidious loss of muscle is devastating for your metabolism. So unless you learn to eat a smaller amount every year, then you're going to get fat. You're going to overeat because your metabolism will relentlessly go lower and lower. Now, resistance exercise also improves insulin sensitivity and bone density. Both are critical for avoiding the epidemic of degenerative diseases. Now, this type of exercise can be done, as I mentioned, as productive work as well. Now, the fourth component of fitness is flexibility. Loss of flexibility is a cause of muscle and joint dysfunction, and it leads to increased injury rates, and it increases the risk for developing arthritis. Now, stretching can be part of quiet time. You can use this for relaxation and for de-stressing. Now, in order to make exercise improve your health, you must have a healthy physiology. And how do we get this? Well, we go back to the tenets of the natural food diet. We try to have a low toxin load by eating organic and avoiding exposure to toxins. We eat a natural foods diet. Now, hold off on vigorous exercise if you have extremely low energy and or you don't recover from exercise. Exercise is only beneficial if it energizes you. Now, try to include all 4 components if possible. But if you don't have time and you need to prioritize it, this is the order. As long as you're healthy enough to do intervals, intervals are the most health-inducing. Strength training would be next, flexibility exercises would be next, and then finally endurance training. Now be sure and do what you enjoy. And remember, give activities that you don't like a chance, particularly ones in area where you really need to improve. By doing an activity, forcing yourself to do it in the beginning, you can actually learn to like it. I remember once I was running and my knee started hurting and I just couldn't run over a mile. And I wanted to work out, so reluctantly I purchased a bicycle. And the thought of riding a bike on the road with cars trying to run me over and having to breathe their fumes was repulsive to me. But once I started riding, I actually learned to love it. And I actually became a cycling fanatic for a long time. Still partially cycling fanatic. So you never know until you give it a chance. And remember, if you can't do a full program, it's always better to do something rather than doing nothing. Take baby steps if needed. Remember, Mount Everest is climbed one small step at a time.